AI vlogs are taking over the internet right now. And in this video, I'll show you exactly how you can create them and the exact prompting strategy you need to ensure every single clip is perfect.
Hey guys, today we are catching fish. Looks like we caught a big one.
All we gotta do is wait now. Smells good already.
And that video you just watched was actually created all inside Google's new tool. Now, I've already made a tutorial on how to use Google Flow, but I'll show you guys exactly how you can recreate this specific tutorial using this specific platform. So if you haven't already, hit the link in the description, head on over to Google Flow so you can get started. So I'm actually going to open up this project here because this is going to give you guys the original prompts and show you guys the exact workflow that I used to generate just one of these series that you're seeing online that's going completely viral. So one of the first videos, the first one that you guys saw here, this one of course is of Bigfoot in this forest situation, and you can see that he's holding up a fish. Now, I think you guys know what the videos are, but the most important thing you guys have to understand is of course the prompting structure. And so what we really want to pay attention to is this lower bit. So I'm just going to click this button right here and you're going to see it opens up this smaller menu where I can see the entire prompt. Now, what you're first probably going to be surprised by is the fact that there isn't some extensive prompt. The main thing to realize is that Veo does all of the heavy lifting for you, including some of the minor imperfections in the speech that make it sound so realistic. So essentially what we have here is first the subject and what they're doing. So this is how I structure all my prompts. I would first say Bigfoot is holding a fish. And then of course I would add the camera angle. Now, remarkably, this actually took me a very long time to get down. I tried many different things. For me, this is the only thing that will give you that POV style look, the one that everyone is currently using. And you want to have this selfie camera angle. And then of course you want to have shot from extended arm perspective. Then of course, lastly, we want to have our environment, because the first thing we want to do here, this first section, is going to be the image prompt. So that section is going to be basically setting up how the first frame is. Now, once that first frame is built, you can see I've just put, he says, and then in quotation marks, I put, hey guys, today we're catching a fish. Looks like we caught a big one. And that's how I get my first clip there. Now, I would say, remember to initially, maybe test this through a much cheaper image generation prompt. That way you can understand if you've got the perspective right, and also that the model understands what it is that you're going to be doing. Remember, any minor imperfection in your prompt will result in a poor or terrible generation. And that means you're going to, once again, have to generate even more clips, resulting in even more credits. Luckily for me, I'm able to afford the ultra tier because I spend so much time in AI. But for those of you who have much less credits, you're on a much tighter credit budget, meaning that you need to be a little bit more careful to ensure that you first have the subject, then have the subject action, then have the camera angle, then of course have the environment, and then of course have the last section be exactly what it is that they are doing. So you can see right here, that looks pretty epic. Now, of course, with this one, I of course got another angle here. I'm not sure if I use this. Veo actually generated this one, but you can see once again, considering the fact that I've used the same prompt, the only thing that I've changed is a few things. So once again, you can see I've changed the environment. So I said Bigfoot is now sitting at a campfire with a fish in his hand. Once again, this is the prompt structure. You want to first have the subject, then you want to have the action. How are they doing? This one was Bigfoot was standing. I said he was holding a fish. And of course, this one, I said he's sitting at a campfire with a fish in his hand. I used the same exact camera angle, the same exact environment, because that is how you get the environment to have consistency. And that's why your videos won't look weird. So if you have a video where he's at a lake, make sure it starts at a lake or near a lake so that you can have at least a little bit of consistency. And considering it's a dense forest, the reason I like this kind of environment is it's hard to pick out anything that is a little bit different. I will say that in the background, the trees are maybe a little bit different, but in a forest, it's believable that you move to an area where there are less dense trees. So now, once again, I've just put in, what are we going to do now is cook this bad boy. So I actually generated 2 videos, and I will say that sometimes what can happen is that sometimes your generations may not work. So for example, this generation right here, this one didn't work, but I do believe that this one was Veo-2. So you can see right here, it says Veo-2 fast. So with Veo-3, the highest quality one, that is going to be how you're going to get number one, the audio, and number two, the highest quality. So you ideally want to be using Veo-3. So you can even see here when I use Veo-2, even this Bigfoot style creature kind of looks like a different kind of monkey. I'm not sure what they're called, but they're the orange ones. I really don't have the name. I think it's an orangutan, but you can see right here, whilst yes, this is remarkably impressive, it doesn't look as good as this one right here. So we can see right here, this is Bigfoot singing at a campfire with this fish in hand. And I did say the vlogging camera is there, and he cut. And remember guys, this was actually a mistake. And this is why you need to be super careful with your prompts. Considering I put vlogging camera right here, it just plopped the vlogging camera right there. And of course it says he cuts the fish open, guts it, and places it on top of a stone that is on top of the campfire in a dense forest. And he says we have to clean the guts out first, of course. Now, you can see right here, this prompting strategy is remarkably effective, okay? It's able to give you the clips that you want, but that isn't the only thing. Trust me, guys, there was something that I realized that a lot of creators were struggling with, that considering the fact that they didn't think about this was why their videos aren't as good as some of those top creators that I'm seeing on platforms like TikTok. What you need to be able to do is once you've generated a scene that is somewhat continuous, you want to be able to use one of those frames to generate the next scene. So let's say, for example, I've got Bigfoot right here. What I was able to do was I was able to add this to my scene. So now that I've clicked add this to scene, it's going to open up a scene builder. A scene builder is a visual timeline where you can visualize your clips and you can crop them, delete them, and add multiple clips together. So what I did in this instance was I played the clip, and then towards the end of the video, what I did was I basically used this final shot here, and it's got this really cool button where you can save this frame as an asset. So if I save this frame as an asset, now what I'm doing is I'm creating continuity in my shots. And I know I just said that wrong, but we're continuing on with the video. So you can see right here, I've already saved this image right here, but the image will automatically be saved into your entire environment. What this allows you to do is if you want to create a longer shot, it allows you to do that with a lot much more character consistency. So once we've got this image right here, what we'll need to do is we'll need to go to frames to video. It's much easier if you do it here. It's just how I think. And if you click plus and then we add this, then when you generate your prompt, it's actually going to use this as the first frame. Remember, we generated this video, and of course we can use that last frame where he was, doing whatever he was with the fish, where he was laying it down for him to do something else with the fish. For me, the prompt that I use was that he squeezes some lemon on top of it. So we can see right here, it looks a little bit more consistent in terms of the consistency. The only thing that happened here that really annoyed me was that it didn't actually get the text prompt, which sometimes unfortunately does happen, which means you're going to have to generate it again. But of course, it's much easier to add all of this to your scene builder. So I'm going to add this one to my scene builder. Then I'm going to come back over to here. Remember, when using Google Flow, do not click all the way over to Flow because you will lose all your progress. You won't lose your videos, but if you're building something in the scene builder and you've edited it and you've cropped out the clips, you will lose that progress and you will have to do it again. So let me actually add the first clip right here. What I'm going to do is add this first clip, add to scene. And so now I want to arrange these. If I just click arrange, I'm going to just go over here. And then so now you can see that I've clicked done. We can see that when I arrange these, we'll see exactly what happens again. So remember, this is the video I showed you guys at the beginning. We've got Bigfoot with his food saying, guys here, whatever, yada, yada, yada. And then of course here, he places the fish down, which is really cool. Loving this clip right here. And then of course as well, what we do see is that he's then seasoning the fish with another clip as well. So of course, if I wanted to finish this off, what I could do is I could add this clip. So what I could now do to even extend this is I could save this frame as an asset. So now it's going to upload, and then now it's going to just basically save that as an asset. I do realize that on short form platforms, they don't really want you to save frames. It would probably be better to generate an entirely new scene. What I could do here is I could say Bigfoot starts eating the cooked fish in the dense jungle. I could say with his hands. And then of course I could say right here, and then of course I will add, he then says, this is tasty, nothing like fresh fish. And so now what it's going to do is it's going to use that last frame And so this is more for you filmmakers if you want to really just have a long extended scene, but you could just have this prompt on its own since Google recognizes this character and kind of just has a really consistent theme. So for this one, I'm going to go once again, making sure I double check and I click that this is Veo-3. Oftentimes you will burn through your credits if you don't double check which one it is, and always make sure you have 1 on because by default it's set to 2. So change it to 1 and then click enter. Now as well, if you want to have a different style of prompt, you can come back to this page, and then if you ever want to use or reuse a style of prompt, what you can do is you can basically just click this button right here. So we can click this reuse button if we want to reuse a prompt. So for example, this one right here, I can reuse this and I can then just edit these sections. So I can say Bigfoot sitting at a campfire with a fish and he's eating it. And of course I could say he eats the fish, and then I could say he says, and then I says, this is how we do it. So once again, of course, this is going to be probably a little bit different considering I'm not using a first frame. Once again, I will just generate this for the video sake. And so this is actually a clear example of why Veo can sometimes be unpredictable and why you always want to use the same prompt and ideally the same image. So with this one, I used the actual frame, and we can see here that we can see that, of course, he actually starts to eat the fish. And then you can see, of course, this is the kind of consistency that we do want in the clips. For some reason, it generated some crazy looking creature here that's not what I really imagined. And so overall, sometimes they will say your words, sometimes they will slur your words, sometimes you may actually even get a human person holding a fish. I'm not sure who this guy is, but he looks happy with his fish. So yeah, this is the tutorial. If you want to make these videos, of course, just go to the scene builder. And for example, for that last scene, what I will do is I will just add this last scene to the video. And so yeah, you guys can see that this entire thing here, this is how we do the clip. We've got 30 seconds of usable footage. And then if we want to download this all we need to do is click this download button, and it basically just starts exporting everything. Of course, you'd have to crop this for TikTok, but it doesn't give you the option to have 9:16, which is of course the aspect ratio. And so yeah, the tutorial is not over just yet. I actually got a few more interesting things because there's a lot more formats that you guys do want to know. So for example, when dealing with multiple characters, it's always best to distinguish the characters in this specific prompt format. So I've said initially what the composition is. I've said Bigfoot and a white Yeti. And then of course, I always say what they're doing. They are sitting. And then of course, I added the environment. The environment is a campfire with a fish on top of the stone that is on top of the campfire in a dense forest. Very similar to what we said before. And then of course, when we introduce dialogue, we have to make sure we once again reference the first character and what they say, and then referencing the second character and what they say. Because if we just say, he says this and he says that, it's not going to work at all, and you're going to get messed up generations. So what we first do is we will say, Bigfoot says, it's great to finally have a friend here. And then we'll say, the white Yeti says, yeah, man, it's getting lonely up in these icy mountains. And that's how we actually managed to get a clip that looks just as good as this one right here.
Ah, it's great to finally have a friend here.
Yeah, man. It was getting lonely in them icy mountains.
And so the point is, I'm going to go over this one more time so you understand it. When dealing with 2 subjects or more, we have both subjects being described, then describe what they're doing. Are they walking? Are they running? Are they sat down? Then describe the environment that they're in. Then we describe the character 1, what they're saying. Then we describe character 2 and what they're saying. So remember that when you're dealing with 2 subjects or more in a specific composition. Right now, Veo-3 works best with 2 characters maximum. With 3 characters, it starts to fail a little bit. Now remember guys, it's not just Yeti vlogs that you can do. You can do other characters as well. So what I have done is I've actually added Albert Einstein here. Once again, we follow the same structure and pattern. We did the first strategy. So who is the character? Albert Einstein. I, of course, added the camera POV. And then I said it's handheld and he's sitting under a tree. So, of course, you can see I've got the action, I've got the character, and I've got, you know, the location, which is under a tree. And then I says, he says. The only reason I can say he says here is because there's only one character in the scene, so Veo will not get confused. And I says, so guess what? I figured out something wild. Stay tuned for a vlog, guys. This is big, and you guys can watch that clip now.
So guess what? I just figured out something wild.
Stay tuned for a vlog, guys. This is big.
And so you can see right there that when you use this prompting style, you get really nice results from Veo-3. You won't get those messy generations. And as long as you focus on the subject, what they're doing, and the environment, and then you focus on what they're saying, you'll easily be able to create tons of viral videos that you can share a lot. Now, another example, one that is also going viral, is the GoPro selfie camera stick. So what you can do here is, once again, we use the same structure. This time we just have a different POV camera. So for this one, I have a plague doctor vlogging with a selfie stick. Okay, that's what the character is doing. It's a plague doctor vlogging with a selfie stick. And here I input the camera POV. I put selfie stick camera POV because of course he has the selfie stick, but we want the camera placed on the selfie stick. Then I say he's walking. Remember, we need to add the action around the murky streets of London, and this is going to be the environment in which we place him. And then of course I say the plague doctor then says yada yada yada, this plague is really getting out of hand. And that's how we structure our prompt to get this final clip.
Wow, this plague is really getting out of hand. I gotta get out of here.
Now, the most surprising thing for me when generating all of these clips is that Google's Veo-3 will do a lot of the heavy lifting for you. If you're confused about anything, it will literally just add the breathing. I'm not sure how, but it does manage to add the context for you. For example, in this clip, you can actually hear the fact that the breathing is inside the mask, which means that Veo is quite likely looking and analyzing visually what's going on to be able to generate those sound effects. So unless you really want some kind of specific emotion, you don't need to say that unless you want that specific emotion. Even in these Bigfoot clips, there was a lot of breathing going on, which is exactly what you would expect. So don't think you need some super crazy prompts. You just need to, once again, have the character, have what they're doing, have the camera POV if necessary, have the action, the environment, and then of course, we have that there. So with that being said, I think that pretty much covers absolutely everything that you want. As always, if you want more scenes, you can just literally add it to the scene.